Boom! It is episode 398 of GI Joburg. And today we're going to be chatting about something special to all of us, especially me, actually. And yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's another figure focused or toy focused episode, should I say. But before I get into that, I'm joined by this animal. There he is, Stephen.
Steve,
Hello.
who are you?
Oh, I'm Rob. Hey guys. Hello.
But who introduced us? Who's this other guy?
I don't
I'm
know who
Paul.
this is. This is
That is
Paul.
Paul.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness, he's a big fan of whatever we're going to be talking about today, guys. Look forward to it.
So yeah.
Are we big fans? Or did
I am.
Mercer just kind of fall into our lap? Okay, good.
I'm a huge fan of Mercer, guys. This is
Excellent.
this
Talk
is
to
a
us
special
about
character.
that, Paul. When did
Yeah.
it all start for you?
Mr. Felix Stratton. Okay, so there was that initial figure of him which we got, which had the sort of armored or cybernetic arm, if you will. Depending on how you guys want to look at it. And that's the 90s release version, which is not what we're talking about today, but we're going to be focusing on the 80s version, the film version, the 1986 version.
87.
87. I keep doing that. Thank you, Rob. Rather you than Steve. You know, it's nice that you guys take turns. So
To bust your ass.
so for me, my appreciation for Felix Stratton, for Mercer, came from the movie, from watching the movie as a kid. And that happened after the second version of the figure with the beard. So for me, it was kind of like woo, that was because they're very visually different guys. And yeah, Mercer's always kind of been cool for me, but what really, really put the nail in the coffin for me when it comes to Mercer is actually when they did the Big Bad Toys exclusive figure collection. They did a set of Dreadnoks, and then they did Slaughter's Marauders. And in there is a fantastic Mercer figure, which I still love very much today. I think it's a great toy. And that got me a lot more into the character and more into the toy. And then we did this little play motion, tiny one. And anybody want to guess which one I'm referring to?
Bad luck lady?
Oh.
But yeah, but throw out
The
more
Renegades.
The Renegades, yes.
Oh,
I
that was
thought
my
you guys
next
would
guess.
throw out some more play motion names just so that people could get be like, what's Blazing Sand? What's Bad Luck Lady? But yes, the
Find out
Renegades
What's boot camp day?
and Boot Camp. Anyway, so that's when I really fell in love with the character, because I got to voice him, and also a lot of the concepts behind that, because for a long time I had these ideas for what Mercer could be in GI Joe, in my sort of headspace. And then there were all these conversations that started, and anyway, I don't know, I just really got to like Felix because of that. Anyway, that's my long explanation of why I like old Mercer. And you guys, any fond memories with Mercer?
Well, before we get any further,
Mercer.
it's an interesting thing that you call him Felix, because according to his file card, version 2 is actually Richard S. Cecil. And his file card still refers to him as the only guy who ever defected from GI Joe. I mean, from Cobra. But every other version of Mercer, version 1, 3, and 4, all refer to him as Felix.
Yep.
So what do we think happened there? Because apparently, yeah, isn't that weird?
Ooh, I think there's a lot of speculation to be had there.
And they're from different places, because I mean, okay, you think maybe they get the name wrong, but they're literally two different people. The one is from West Virginia, the other one is from Virginia. So what's going on here? Is this the same guy, or is it a different guy?
I still feel they're different people.
Whoa.
And I still think Felix is very much in my mind, I've always wanted him to be a, how do I put it, Wetworks kind of dude. Yeah, because I always thought the movie did a good job of that, where he's part of the GI Joes, but he's not. He doesn't go to do GI Joe HQ. You know what I mean? He doesn't
Yeah,
eat in the
he's
same
out in the
Red Bull.
boonies with the Red Dog and Taurus.
Yeah, with
Just
the
kind of
Renegade.
hanging around. Look here, guys, bang heads, tummies.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we've said this before on the podcast, but the Renegades, in a weird way, are kind of like the Dreadnoks for the GI Joes.
This
That
would be the good
is-
place to reiterate that point. And spiraling out from that, I've always regarded the Renegades as not being on the inside. Like, card-carrying GI Joe members get to use the pits, they get to use official GI Joe equipment. The Renegades, they're on their ace. They're plausibly deniable.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the file cards say, like, if they get themselves into a sticky situation, they have to get themselves out. They can't just call Big Bad GI Joe for help.
Mm-hmm.
They are expendable. They are the expendables of GI Joe. So yes, they're the Dreadnoks, but with a little bit more formal role to play. Yeah, you said it right. So wet works indeed. Undercover stuff, deep cover stuff, behind enemy lines stuff that you don't want to waste low light or dusty or footloose on.
Or a PR team on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't send scoop on those missions, guys.
Yeah.
I'm interested that you encountered version 2 first, Paul. That's curious to me. Did they
Yeah,
just not have Renegades at Checkers in
No,
1990?
not all those characters. Taurus, Red Dog, Mercer. They were only, for me, they only existed in the cartoon. I actually didn't realize that there were real toys of them. In fact, admittedly, as a kid, I didn't draw the comparison between modern Mercer and the original Mercer myself. It was actually David that like pointed that out. He was like, "That's meant to be this guy," and I'm like, "But they don't look the same."
They don't look anything alike. Well, they did the same with Lowlight. I mean, they completely changed his look from, his
Blonde
version 1
to dark
version
hair.
2. Yeah. I mean, I did the same,
He just
Stephen.
put boot polish on his face.
Okay. He's just cheating. He's cheating.
Blacked up his hair a bit. Yeah, for night ops, kind of the shock of Rutger Hauer blonde hair when you're doing after dark maneuvers. That stuff's luminescent.
Oh,
Anyway, Paul. No, Rob, you were gonna say.
Oh, fair. No, I was
Over
gonna say I think my first brush into the character as well was version 2. I thought he was the only version, and I mean mine isn't even the actual version 2. This is the Fun School version. If
Yeah,
anyone who's watching
extra
this video
fun.
is able to see the
yellow
different
backpack.
colours. Yeah, Lumo backpack
And black
But
hair and beard as opposed to brown. Nice.
Yes. Yeah, well played with figure. So yeah, for me as well, this was who I thought Mercer was. And then I think eventually when we found out that, he was this other guy. I mean, not eventually, but yeah, it was just weird that he looked different in the cartoon. He was like, it's like, okay, I guess this is
Well,
him
looks like we're
older.
all laboring under some misconceptions, but at least
Yes.
I encountered the vintage figure, the 87 release, in the shops back in the day.
That's wild.
My misconception comes in the form of not being able to recognize that this figure that I held in my hand was the same guy from the movie. I guess I was too young, and GI Joe as a toy line was too consistently cool to like emblazon anything on the packages, like from the movie. There was no hint for a child that like, because think about Falcon, and this came up in the most recent Chasing Joe episode. We were discussing Falcon, and Ben and I were both in agreement that like, yes, there's a very nondescript, awesome Green Army man, but you would never have known it's the lead freaking character from GI Joe the movie, unless you were perhaps a little bit older or smarter. I certainly was neither of those things. So the same thing with the Renegades, and in our territory they were single carded, which was you'd think that would help them sell, but I still feel like each of them were peg warmers because so much of what a figure's appeal was their gear. And each of the Renegades came with this very generic loadout of like backpack, reuse backpack, but we didn't know that either. We just saw that it's a pretty uninteresting backpack. It didn't hold a sword or have a rocket launcher attached to it or anything like that. It's just a block of plastic. And then a small arm, like a pistol or a submachine gun. And so these guys did not move as quickly as they might have I remember giving Taurus to a friend for his birthday present. I did not lust for that figure at all. I was entirely happy for him to have that. Buddy of mine's favorite figure was Red Dog, but that's only because he was a rugby uh, freak. I mean, this guy's he was A-team rugby under nines, and yeah, I just thought that Red Dog was a rugby player, so it had a natural affinity for that guy. Mercer then fell through the cracks. Had I known that he was an ex-Cobra Viper, that would have been a selling point. But then again, I didn't know what a Viper was. Shit for brains, 5-year-old Steve. A lot of things fell through the cracks.
Yeah, of course,
And this
as they
figure was one
should.
of them. Yep.
Yeah, and then Mercer's just always been treated. Okay, I don't want to say always. The vintage Mercer is such a uninteresting figure in a lot of ways. Like I'm gonna go out there and say it. It's like if you see it in a pile of toys, you might not think he's like the most impressive. I know some viewers and listeners might be like, no, he's actually absolutely the most impressive and interesting figure, and that's cool.
Yeah,
just
tell us
Take
how
us to
wrong he
task
is in
in
the
the
comments
comments.
on the YouTube
There
video,
you go.
guys.
Yeah, but I don't think he like stands out in the best way. I think he's a character that's really enhanced by his file card, and he's made better by also being in the film. It's the I'm gonna annoy some people when I say this. I think there's a lot of comparisons to be drawn between the figure of Mercer and the figure of Tracker, and I mean the one with the inflatable boats. They're both not incredibly interesting toys, but Tracker's file card is like way more interesting than the figure is, marginally. Whereas Mercer is infinitely better than the figure is, but you still have him as an avatar, this little plastic avatar that's like fun to play with. And because of his lack of signature gear, for example, it does, for the more imaginative person, he does start falling into the role of, well, he can actually use anything, he can do anything. He's kind of, he's the action man. And I said that on purpose. The Action Man TV series that we got, which was based on the Action Man, which is an offshoot of the 12-inch GI Joes, and it was very popular in Europe. I don't know how Action Man did in the States, but I've always felt Action Man to be like Mercer. I don't know about you guys, but even his voice, I have no memories.
Do you remember the Action Man cartoon? The Action Man
Yes.
cartoon had live action segments, like a
Yes.
stunt show.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it's like, wow, somersaults, wow, rolls, wow, punch. But like, I admittedly kind of enjoyed that. Wait, what was the famous line in the beginning? Who am I? But that's also I like, somewhere I feel like that's also Mercer. I know I'm like skewing the lines here a bit, but that's kind of the appeal of Mercer, is that he's kind of nobody, and I love that about him. That's kind of what made him interesting in my brain over time, because he's like Solid Snake, or like, I'd actually say, yeah, he's very much like Solid Snake. He's very much a cipher. You can just like put him in there. He does what he needs to do. He's invisible. Solid Snake arguably maybe has too much more personality than Mercer does, but that's kind of a thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Mercer's the coolest toy ever made? Like, so I know we're kind of jumping the gun because we can get it. We are going to get into the nitty gritties, folks. So please don't feel that we're just going to be like, oh, Mercer, this is a 15-minute show. Cool, thank you.
I
But
love
yeah,
him.
I'm kind of
His figure
curious.
sucks.
What do you guys think of the original V1 Mercer? Like, does it blow your hair back?
I want to preempt Rob, and also softball towards him, because I'd like to just remind him how he got his Mercer. I think I got a bunch of action figures in, maybe on one of my travels, and I had the three. No, they were actually bought in South Africa. Had the three Renegades, Taurus, Red Dog, Mercer, and I was talking about them on the podcast. And Rob was sitting right beside me. It was one of those rare and wonderful instances where we were podcasting together. And I turned to him and said, "Hey, man, let's do this old school. Like, I don't want to be all three of the Renegades. You got to control at least one of them. If you could pick one, who's it going to be?" And you settled on Mercer. So clearly, at least within the three of them, a special light shone down on Mercer. You could have gone with Taurus, you could have gone with Red Dog, but Mercer was your man. So, what is the appeal for you, Robbo?
Wow. I think, I don't know. Yes, I suppose I can see where Paul thinks he looks plain, because like he comes with kind of like the Viper underpants or the lower half.
Depends. And then he dresses him into those wicked cool Errol Flynn like swashbuckler boots.
Yes,
It's a vibe, dude.
they're fantastic. Like I mean, yes, the details are kind of very plain, but like it's just if you look at it properly, like you'll see there's interesting stuff here. Yeah, and like the cool like puffy jacket with all the different little things that he has on it. And the weird like thing on his right arm, which I have no idea what that is. I suppose if you're gonna take this as like the first figure, and then this is the version 2, like maybe he lost the rest of his arm, or like it was always robotic or something. Like it's interesting.
So
Like there's
in the Renegades play motion, we explained that arm bracelet as a device of control, like
Mhm.
to keep this guy in
Ooh.
line and make sure he doesn't turn on the Renegades and rejoin his
Wow,
Viper
return
pals.
to his
It's a shackle.
programming.
Mm.
That's
It was
crazy.
it was a shackle that would tighten, like someone held the controls to like basically like I mean he would lose his arm eventually if this thing was tourniqueted to the
That's
point where
crazy.
stop the blood flow.
Guys, if you didn't know
Also
that,
counts
go
his
check
steps.
out that show. And it counts his steps. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you got
So
to
he has
get
the
those
little
steps in.
Apple Watch on his left wrist. So you could probably use that
Super
for
cool.
context.
I like to think it's like a Casio, like a silver, like
Yeah.
really cheap but still silver
Yeah.
watch with
It
a
just has
wristband.
to keep the time. Yeah, I'd say he's plain, but like I think as Paul says, you can kind of project a lot onto him. But like his hairstyle is pretty cool too. It's like Grant, but it's not as like extreme. He doesn't have this extreme like mohawk thing going on there. Like very flat head.
I've
Like
always thought
it's
the head sculpt was kind of soft. Like at an age
Yeah.
where
hmm,
like guys were getting more and more detailed faces, like it's the details are a little bit washed out. He doesn't have such individuated like strands of hair.
yeah.
The face he is kind of baby face. Maybe he's supposed to be a very
That could
young
also
man.
come from the fact that they were in a 3-pack. I mean, I think a lot of corners were cut to kind of make the 3-pack. Like even the other two aren't like super duper detailed. I mean, they kind of stand out from each other because they are so different, in the way that they kind of colored them. And then the colors they use for the outfits and all of that. And he kind of a little bit makes me think of Dolph Lundgren, which I kind of like as well.
Yeah, there's a vibe. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah,
I will break you.
I also feel like his head sculpt is great to use if you
Cypher.
wanted to make a vampire or something as well.
Oh,
'Cause he's
interesting.
peak,
Oh,
he's
I can see that. I can see that.
the
But yeah, he looked the
vampire
most
god.
professional of the three. I think that's what I liked about him the
Yeah,
most.
he's the neatest.
He looks the most capable. Your
A
comparison
silenced
to
pistol
them,
can't be argued with either. Like it's a
ooh,
nice accessory.
wonderful. It's a fantastic accessory. It's a really great gun. And yeah. And of course, I mean, the backpack is not really worth talking about because it's just a plain old backpack.
It's a cool backpack, but it is a reuse.
It's a reuse, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Footloose's backpack, if anyone's keeping score.
Oh, I was keeping score actually. I was wondering
The
if you would remember that.
I often get that gun, Mercer's gun and Gridiron's sidearm confused because they're both
Close.
they're quite similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they are both
Yeah.
these like long pistol type guys. But yeah, he looked the most professional to me, and he kind of appealed to me in kind of like his soldieriness. So I think that's what I quite liked about him.
Yeah, just a weird tangential thought now on this episode, but I would love to see I would love to explore the idea of taking Mercer into the action man direction. Okay, they've blown up Cobra Law. GI Joe's kind of managed to sort of establish world peace. Cobra is no more. Let's just stop the Cobra GI Joe conflict. Let's just say that's the end of the Cobra Wars, so to speak. So what does Felix go and do? And then, he's like, well, I can't be a GI Joe, and there's no really real point to being GI Joe. I seek adventure in my life. I have a lot to atone for. So, he
I'll be an
goes on a
action
few missions.
man.
He goes on a few missions and then loses his memory, like has some kind of amnesia.
That's where he gets the scar.
Yeah, then this other agency picks him up, and then he's like, "Who am I?" And then he runs around as Action Man. And I don't know, like you could
That's
also like,
some interesting lore going on.
yeah, you could also play with some kind of, the world actually just because Action Force or the action whatever it is comes into play. I can't remember too many details about the cartoon, guys. So they come in. And the whole world is like thrown into turmoil by this new force that's taken out, and then their ultimate goal is, well, you know what, we can't beat this new force, so what we'll do is we'll make a time machine, and we'll sort of go back in time and kind of like stop GI Joe from beating Cobra, and then they mess up, and it creates like a major Mandela effect, and Cobra never lost the Cobra Wars, but they did manage to stop Cobra Law, and that is why Mercer is back. But that's why Richard is now Mercer in GI Joe, and
Wow.
Mercer's been forgotten. It's like a
Oh,
whole. You could get like quite.
that's where you were going.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
go
I was
quite a
like,
bit tenet with it. Like it could be quite fun. Anyway, I'm just sorry. It's just a bit of a tangent. Hopefully, it was interesting for our
hopefully
listeners.
someone enjoyed that out there.
But on the topic of this really cool figure, you guys don't have the modern era version of him, and
I do not. But
And none of us have the classified version, which is finding its way into people's hands as we speak.
as
of
we are
recording.
talking, guys, you're buying your
which
figure right now.
which
Tell us how
I
cool it is in the comments.
Oh, it was bought and paid for ages ago. Hasbro's finally honoring their pre-orders.
Finally
the pre-orders.
handing them out.
So
Here
old.
you are. Here's your little toys.
So the modern era the modern era Mercer, Felix Stratton Mercer, is so cool because they give him the same web gear or the same like kind of jacket that they gave to the Alley Vipers of that. No, the Vipers. No, it was of the modern
Gyro
era.
Vipers.
The Alley Vipers, I think it is. And
Uh,
it's just cool because it kind of creates that connection between him and Cobra. Like he's still got the jacket,
yeah, but it's the same like with the original. He still has the underpants.
Yeah. And then okay, so with the modern era, they got the blue pants, and then they gave him the Viper gun, the Viper rifle, which I think is quite cheeky. But hey, whatever, if it's a sidearm you trained, or it's a firearm you trained in, it's a system you trained in, then and you can keep one, and it supports ammo that you have on base. Well, then I suppose that works.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But I just kudos to something that could have been a complete Franken-Joe, and it is in a lot of ways, but it's just a really great execution of a Franken-Joe. I think
in a way, it works.
Yeah,
It
He
being
should be a
Franken-Joe.
Franken-Joe.
exactly. Yeah,
I can see why they would want to depart from the classic Viper uniform with the version 1, because that would just be like a head swap. But the fact that it kind of takes the themes of the Viper but doesn't actually do the Viper, I don't know. I can't tell for sure if I would love him to be in a more Viper-esque uniform. Like they just took the furniture of the Viper uniform, just kind of distressed it a bit, rejigged it, didn't give him the nice, neat Cobra boots, but gave him something else, like maybe even some sneakers. Had some rips in it. This is a sort of different creative reading of Mercer. I think the decision to make that figure a defected Cobra Viper came later. Like they had the design, and then Larry came up with the story, or whoever was writing file cards at that point, because it is a missed opportunity that the uniform is as generic as it is. That being said,
fair enough.
I don't dislike it.
Yeah,
it's nice
for
that he's
sure.
got his own
It's
thing
still
going on.
interesting. There's kind of a little bit of what he was before, and he's kind of slowly kind of customized it. An interesting fact about that version 4 that you own, Paul, because there was also a version 3 that released in 2006. On the file card, or at least on the back of that packaging, there's a misprint of where he comes from. So instead of being from Spencer, West Virginia, the back of the file card, or at least the back of the box, says he's from Taos, New Mexico. Which, I mean, if anyone knows any of the other characters that were in that box set, that's the hometown or the birthplace of Spirit. So he also came in that box set. So they actually just accidentally misprinted Spirit's like kind of like hometown twice.
Sure, they copy pasted.
They copy pasted and they just forgot to like correct it. So now we have two versions of Felix. One that's from West Virginia, and one that's from Taos, New Mexico, who probably grew up with Spirit. They were like best buddies growing up.
See, that's like
clearly his backstory is muddled for a reason. They're trying to protect those details. He's a Cobra.
That's
It's
what
like
it is.
Witness protection system.
Hasbro, we see you.
Rejig the details.
No, I don't want to give Hasbro that credit. I think that's a happy accident. That just worked out really well in their favor. You know,
Paul, can you remember the origins of why we wanted to do a focused play motion on Mercer?
Okay, maybe this is just my own remembrance here. Is that like I had the idea of something like that for a long time, but it wasn't wrapped up around Mercer per se. It was wrapped up around something else with Alley Vipers and whatever that I wanted to do. And then that was some of it that I recall, but I can't really recall what the genesis was, because that whole history there is muddy. Because I remember what I want to remember there, which was like I had this idea, and then I remember Zazel also had like some ideas or whatever that came into play. And
yes, Zazel Phoenix, ex of Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse. Back then, his channel was called Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, and we, through some trick of fate, were living in the same town in Australia at the same time during the COVID lockdowns, and we became drinking buddies. And he was like, "When are you gonna get Sarge back into one of your play motions, Steve?" I was like, "Well." Are you doing anything later? Let's shoot Sarge. And also, like, the selling point for me anyway was the fact that I'd always wanted to know the story of Mercer. I mean, his file card sort of goes into a little bit of detail that he defected by riding out of Cobra Island on a moray. That's all very fun, evocative stuff, but we've never seen that. We've never seen it being played. So he's a blank canvas in many respects, and like, what a compelling story. Like, why was he so ignored? He had one moment to shine, maybe two moments to shine in GI Joe the movie, but that was an overstuffed cast anyways. The fact that we got as much introduction to the Renegades as we did get is a small miracle. Why did Larry have nothing to do with this character? I mean, the explanation that I'd like to venture anyway is Mercer kind of flew under his radar in some respects, but also Storm Shadow was a Cobra defector. Destro walks away from Cobra, and Baroness. Zartan walks away from Cobra. Like, are we going to do this again?
Yeah,
not with like a member of Cobra royalty. Yeah. So, Mercer fell through the cracks.
I also think that there's some. I think that there's also some reasoning behind the fact that like Hasbro, or not Hasbro, but Cluster and Sunbow and all of them might have created a list of figures or list of characters and toys that they didn't want the comic book to use for a little while when they did the film. So they're probably like, we want to use the film here. Like, these are the characters we want to have exclusively in the film, and we don't want their presence or whatever's diluted by comic appearances or something, which is like, typical corpo shit, because they'll use a comic to advertise the toy line and to make it big, and then create adverts for said comic books, as they did. And then when the comic book becomes inconvenient for them, then they will sort of choke it a bit. But I do also understand that, like, from a creative point of view.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of goes again. Like, I mean, like as we said earlier, like they never punted it as like toy exclusive, like movie exclusive toys. It's kind of a missed opportunity that they didn't do that, especially if, as we're speculating, that they were like, okay, don't use these guys for a while. They want to be movie exclusives, and we want the kids to, grab the toys because of having watched the movie.
I think it was just a different era. I mean, nowadays, you'd as a toy line, you're dead in the water if you don't have at least an animated series
Yeah.
behind you. Preferably a movie that is much beloved by kids. Preferably you are riding high on Frozen or like any of those kind of IPs. Toy lines don't exist on their own as much as they did in the 80s.
Or at least in the West, they don't. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
In the
Well,
East,
yeah, sure.
in the East, it's like completely different. They can sell figures. Eastern territories can sell toys without having stuff brand tied to it, and sometimes it actually does better for those toys if they don't have a brand to it. Like, just to bring Gundam into play here, you can release a new line of Gundam kits to coincide with the TV show, and people get excited because they love the designs of the mobile suits in anticipation for the show. The show drops, people hate the show, so then sadly the kits actually end up, it's always the kits that have to suffer. But
Won't someone think of the kids?
yeah, exactly. But that's what happens, and it's really sad. It's like people all of us suddenly just go, "Oh, I don't like that thing anymore because I hated the show."
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
you're saying in the East, at least, a lot of the time not having a link to an IP actually is better.
that's better for it. I mean, I don't think Zoids has had a TV show for like how long now, and Zoids are still one of the more popular sellers in model kits, like in
That's
Japan.
wild.
Not like, I'm not saying like, oh my god, they're doing gangbusters, but they're
Yeah,
still
but
making them. They're still
stunning.
making new ones. Yeah, so it's pretty insane. Anyway,
So-
not to stray too far away from
Yeah.
Mercer.
Well, we just mentioned that Larry completely ignored Mercer in the comics.
Hmm.
So it was actually up to Devil's Due to eventually actually bring Mercer into the comics.
Tell us. Tell us.
So his first appearance was very brief. His first appearance is literally just a first appearance. So in issue 23, which was the second part of the Last Stand storyline, which I believe is referred to as the second Cobra Civil War, they're like, we have to bring in everyone. We need all the reserves, everyone to come in. And it's like somewhere in the middle of the comic, it's just like, we've brought Mercer back in. Hey guys, remember me? No, we don't, because we've never seen you in the comics, but thanks. And thankfully, he does get to do something in the last part, in issue 25 of the Devil's Due comics, and in the last part of Last Stand, he gets to lead a covert mission onto Cobra Island to kind of make it easier, I think, for the water forces and whatever else to kind of land on the island and start attacking. So he gets to do a little bit in there. Not a lot, but at least he's kind of like in charge of a little mission there. And those are the only story that I could find that he kind of appeared in the comics, at least in any significant, at least in the original comics, because as we all know, he is currently appearing in GI Joe in the Energon universe. And I believe this is Paul's absolute favorite version of the guy, even though he's waiting very expectantly for him to turn to the GI Joes. Spoilers for people who haven't been keeping up to date, but he is currently 100% a Cobra, or I suppose more a Destro guy.
Grenadier.
He's a Grenadier. He's Destro's personal bodyguard in the current GI Joe series, and a very cool version of him as well.
Yeah, he's
very
a lot
intimidating. I feel that he's very smart as well.
Yes.
Very perceptive. And
tasked with all sorts of behind the scenes stuff. Like, it seems like Destro, he's not just a bodyguard or muscle, he's a confidant. He's like an administrator as well. Sometimes he's depicted, he's sometimes got an assault rifle and sometimes he's got a data pad. Like, he's
like
smart
second
and he's
in
tough.
charge. Essentially, he's Destro's right hand man.
An interesting choice, like
above everyone else.
There's intrigue around Mercer because you have this sort of Damocles that, like, when's someone going to overstep the line and he's like, that's it, I'm punching out, I'm joining the other guys. Is it going to happen? It's an interesting, every time he's in the panel.
Especially as long-term GI Joe fans, we know the history of the previous version of him, or at least, the toy version from Mara. His file card. So it is something that we're constantly expecting. It's just the same with the Baroness. It's like, oh, when is she going to join Cobra? When is she, when are her and Destro going to get together?
But it was a
So
smart
there is
choice
this.
to settle on Mercer, because it does muddle his backstory. He's no longer a Cobra Viper. He's no longer a grunt. He's actually got some clout within Mars. They could have picked Voltar. They could have picked Metalhead.
As they do
But
the
that would have been
show.
infinitely less interesting than a character that has this baked in turn, heel face turn.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to matter more as well.
Or
now.
does he? But also, I mean, as Paul said, he is very much also kind of like a blank slatey type guy as well. Like, yes, he defected from Cobra, but what is he now? Who is he? So you can kind of project a lot onto him where he's. And I think that's also an advantage of him having not been in the original comic series, is that there isn't a lot of backstory to him that you need to kind of like move around. You just go, he's a cool looking guy. I want to use him.
Yeah, you insert him into the situation, and then you
just
make
put him in there and just do whatever you want with him.
There's just well, like just coming back to the Energon stuff, as a sort of like spat out earlier, was if he does do a heel turn, it's gonna matter a lot more, because every time we've been introduced to him, we haven't seen him go from being Cobra to GI Joe. We haven't seen him defect. We've just always been introduced to him as, oh, it's a guy that defected. It's like, oh, this is Carl. He cheated on his wife. We weren't there for why he cheated on his wife and what led to those circumstances. We're just like, there's Carl. He cheated on his wife. Like that's the extent of like Felix's sort of like betrayal, so to speak. Which is also like something I find intriguing, which is why I kind of got stuck on that character in my head. And you guys have heard me mention this is the ideas of the whole, elite, like Elite Viper Squad, and I kind of like the idea of Mercer being part of that, and then there being another guy. Which, just coming back to Steve's earlier thing about Renegades, is because now you've rebooted my memory on this a bit, Steve, is that there's also a character in the form of a Viper that is courtesy of Bart. Bart sent me a Viper, but he's got like some burn marks on the helmet, and so I call him Scorch. It's my special Viper, and I like the idea of Scorch and Felix being like these best friends, kind of thing. And for us, it was Rick.
On its way into Renegades, or our version of the Renegades.
Yes.
The plastic was actually version 2 Mercer, a sort of an older mentor character who was in the same unit as the Felix Stratton 1987 Mercer. And that unit was used as a kind of a sacrificial lamb to test out Destro's new battle android troopers. The backstory of that unit was, I think, along the lines of like, this unit was perhaps had a bit too much autonomy. They were too good. And unfortunately, excelling in Cobra puts a target on your back. And Cobra Commander decided to sanction them because I guess they were a wild card.
Foxhound.
Yeah, you want, ironically, like in an organization like Cobra, I assume Cobra Commander wants mediocrity because he wants sheep who are easily persuaded, easy to control. Exactly. So I think they were called the Wolf. Oh man, I really need to give it a rewatch, and so should you, listener.
Do it right now.
Pack, the
Wolf Pack, something like that. Yeah, I do remember us calling it something like that.
Savage Wolves.
Wolfsbane.
But it's great that like Cobra Commander is like that, because when I say it's great that he's like that, it's not great, but it's such a, sorry to be like film schooling our play motion in this, but like corporates are like that, like big agencies are like that. They want highly competent people until the competency of those people outshines you, or their usefulness, or they outlive their usefulness, and then you toss them. Looking at you, video game industry that likes to do stuff like that, to guys like Kojima, just as one example. But it's just quite sad, because that's the whole paradox. You want the best until the best like is too good, and that's what makes Cobra a villain, because people who are good people want the best because having the best, like a rising tide, raises all ships or raises all boats. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's another way that we are showing that Cobra, or that Cobra Commander is shown as a real villain, and it's a subconscious thing, I think, in a lot of ways that was done there. I don't think too much pontification was done about like, oh, we should really like depict Cobra Commander this way so that he educates people on this. It's just we're like, what is bad shit that people do? Oh, Cobra. Anyway, I digress. So typically with Mercer, like for you guys, Rob, when is the last time you pulled Mercer out to enjoy him as a character, or when did he invade your headspace? Like, I don't know, for story ideas or anything. And if you haven't, that's also okay. That's part of this whole journey.
Yeah, Bill, you're right. He really hasn't. I mean, like, I had to really look for him just now when I was trying to find him. He was actually in the Warthog, which is where I found the last figure we were talking about.
Ah,
It's weird. I should actually just look in there right now and see what we're going to talk about next.
The Warthog is a good place. It is as GI Joe as they come, but it has that link to Sergeant Slaughter.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Good
Yeah, it's a
chariot
great
for
place
his
for renegades
serendipitous.
to hang out. Yeah, I don't often think about Mercer, I think. But yeah, no, he really is a great toy. I mean, like, I don't know. I think I remember having more fun with version 2 though.
Version 2 is a cool guy. I
Yeah.
don't want to speak about him too much because I feel like we need an episode for him one day properly. Like, I know we
Wow.
have spoken about him extensively.
Okay, well, there goes
before.
my talking points for the next 20 minutes.
Oh,
God.
sorry, Rob. Unless you guys feel like we should put some focus on old.
No, we can keep this
version
one
2.
short.
I want to hear Rob's story. I have a
Me
sneaking
too,
suspicion what it
actually.
is.
No, my talking points were to do no. It's not toy based. It's actually cartoon based because I decided to introduce myself to what episodes was Mercer version 2 in. It was
Goodness.
I was not happy. So, but anyway, no, it wasn't to do with that. But no, I mean, story wise, I mean, we used Mercer 2. We kind of like chopped them up and used them for pieces for our shifters games, if I remember correctly.
Very good. Yes.
our
The
own-
body.
Yeah.
The body went to your Samurai Jack character.
Yes, and I think you used the arm. The
I
cyborg
used the
arm.
head.
What was the head?
I wanted a aged up version of Shockwave.
Yeah.
So whereas Flint version, the Eco Warriors version, was
Mhm.
unmasked Shockwave regular, this was Shockwave of the future
Yeah.
with the Mercer V2 head. And I mean, it's helpful that it is the Fun School Mercer V2, which has obviously, we established before, black hair
black
and black beard. So it was a good match, therefore, to Eco Warriors Flint.
Yeah. No, perfect. So
I don't
yeah,
think-
we had a lot of fun using pieces of Mercer for a long time, kind of taking him across the multiverse and having many
And
slow
time.
motion fights against robots and aliens and whatever else we got up to ourselves, I guess, at some point.
I don't think anybody going into this episode was expecting to hear that.
I
The whole
really
thing about low
enjoyed.
light, etc. So
Yeah.
and then
Low light?
shifters. Well, you
Oh,
guys
shifters.
used them as an aged low light, right?
Well, no,
It was
Age
Shockwave.
Aged
Shockwave.
Shockwave. I said low light
Yes.
because I was thinking of lilac. Because I like low light's got black hair as well. Like,
Yeah, well, we mentioned him earlier as well. The difference between version 1 and version 2 as well. A lot of
Guys,
similarities.
Shockwave was a big deal for me in terms of, I didn't even call him Shockwave. It was just
Yeah.
Shockwave in plastic, but not in name. His
Mhm.
actual name, I'm not even going to, I don't want to use it because I feel like it's almost like cultural appropriation at this point. Like I gave him a Chinese name. He's clearly not Chinese, but I just thought it was a cool name. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Maybe
like
if you
Senor
apply me
Well,
a couple of drinks.
With the blackhead character, and also with the detailing on these figures, you really could. They could be Caucasian, they could be Asian. I can see it.
Or we're so far flung into the future that, like, irrespective of what your color or original race was,
multi-racial by that point.
names are universal. But yeah, look, there's something very poignant and almost kind of like maudlin about visiting your aged self. Like, this version of Shockwave, or insert character name here, was quite grizzled and like things had not gone well for him.
Yeah.
It felt like a very sophisticated thing to do with your plastic action figures, to travel to the future and meet your future self, who's like captaining some space vessel alone. Like he's on the
Mhm.
bridge of this thing with a star field in front of him, and yeah, as I say, ultimately alone. Like things, what happened to you, man?
How did he get
You've
there?
done great things, but you're still like you're lost.
Yeah.
Man. And much like Mercer, who's awash in his allegiances, at least he found the Sarge. Do you think the Sarge operates like a father figure he never had? Is that the attraction there? Because he could ply his trades any which way. Why did he settle on this subsect of GI Joe, this like dark secret?
I think the Sarge has real compassion for
Mm.
his guys, because
Rough
you
exterior, but he treats them right. I mean,
Mm.
if you take the movie as anything to go by, they seem to be eating like very well,
yeah,
like
I mean they,
massive racks of
but
ribs.
that's what you do with your pets. You feed them well, right? I mean,
Dude, truth.
no, but
The
like,
bull and the dog,
yeah, well, the
and
bull, the
whatever the
dog,
hell a
and
mercer is. What is
yeah,
a mercer? A
he's
mercenary?
his name's Felix, which was the name of my grandparents' dog, which was an Alsatian. So I've always got that association with the name Felix for Mercer. No offense to
Felix
anybody
the
out there
cat?
called Felix. Actually, yeah, no, I always just knew Felix as a dog. So Felix the cat was always like, Felix is not a good
Mhm.
cat name. Whatever, whatever. Like, anyway. So like Felix is an Alsatian. He's like, old red dog is like a pit bull or something. And Felix is an Alsatian. Anyway, um, if you are in Full Metal Jacket, the um the drill instructor, and I can't believe I've forgotten his name right now because he's an
R.
outstanding
Lee
actor.
Emery?
Thank you,
Ermy?
Omi. Yeah, um, yeah. Anyway, his role is fantastic. It's memorable for anybody who has seen the film. You know exactly what kind of like awesomeness he delivers. But I watched an interview with him. Well, not watched. I read an interview with him, and they like asked him like, why, why would a drill? Why did you play the drill instructor in that way and all that stuff? And he said it's because as a drill instructor, you care about these guys. He's like, you hard on them because they're going to the worst thing in their lives. They're about to leave for the worst moment in their lives, and you've got to be mean. You've got to be meaner than that moment, and it's a weird kind of love. So like it's a weird way of showing love. Is how he explained it, and I've always thought like, okay, because that's actually quite sincere. Like I've never thought about it like that. I've never thought like, oh, he's hard on them. I just thought he's just trying to do his job and make sure that they like well-oiled machines. But it's actually because he cares. He knows that some of them are going to die. And he's just wants to make sure they got a fighting chance. And I think that's kind of Sergeant Slaughter as well. Like they know that his hard assness is actually a sign of love. It's a sign of appreciation, as much as wild dogs like them can understand that as well.
But
Because
what keeps the renegades there? Is there a kind of a camaraderie? Is there a loyalty to Sarge? Because we sometimes call them mercenaries. I think the file card even calls them mercenaries. But a mercenary surely needs to get paid well.
we all go
And it
home,
doesn't
or
seem,
nobody goes home.
it
That
doesn't
kind of
seem like
mentality. Yeah.
I feel like, working for Cobra, you're likely to have sort of more spoils of war because Cobra's out there, overthrowing governments and doing all this sort of in the shadow stuff that would accrue a greater war chest than like someone who's employed by, essentially a national army.
Mm.
I always feel like, and you guys know how I feel about like joining Cobra. That Cobra is just very manipulative and takes advantage of people that are in need. Because I like to look at it from they hire through a kind of a cult kind of system and through a motivational seminar kind of thing. That's how it works in my brain. So you got a lot of people who are in need of real purpose, and that real purpose is being manipulated. But a lot of the times when people need that, it's because they feel emptiness in their lives. They feel that they need to, and I'm referring specifically to Mercer because he comes through the Cobra path. They need acceptance. They need well, I say they, but actually we as people, we need like acceptance. We need community. It's why we have a podcast. It's why a lot of people like you, awesome listeners and viewers, enjoy listening to us in part. It's because we like connecting with things. And so when somebody like Mercer is maybe not part of the regular army and has the opportunity to join something, he feels he has purpose, especially because he's manipulated. And so when he can still have purpose and be a good guy, I think that helps a lot. I can't speak to to Red Dog and to Taurus too much, but I think it's a similar situation. I think it's a case of you need to feel appreciated, and I think they feel appreciated being part of the Renegades, and that's kind of maybe more valuable to them than money, because money is one thing, but if you don't ever feel like you're safe or accepted, you're always going to find ways to be sneaky shit, and I think but Slaughter's also got that whole, like I said earlier, I wasn't just joking, but it's like we all go home or nobody goes home, and that is a kind of mentality that Slaughter is like impressing upon these guys, like, hey, you came from dog eat dog situations, now you're coming you're a pack, you have to like think about each other's well-being, and that
Yeah,
changes
they
the
have to work
mentality, the
together.
narrative
And
of it.
he
Yeah.
wants to fight against Cobra, but he doesn't want to be in so much of a structured system again. Like he went from being in this
Well,
highly
I would
regimented Cobra system.
I would come at it from the other angle and say the system doesn't want him because he's not trustworthy entirely. Like it could be a double cross. So you keep him at arm's length. You don't keep him on base with your sensitive GI Joe equipment. You keep
Yeah.
him out in the sticks with the slaughter in the
Okay, fair enough.
slaughterhouse. But I also think that maybe there's an interesting angle with Mercer that he could be working his way towards a full pardon. Given his
There's also
checkered
that.
past, he's obviously got a lot of crimes to atone for or answer for. And this is his way of sidestepping the law and getting a presidential pardon, do his time with the Renegades. That could be a motivator. So, unlike his brothers, he's in it to clean the slate and hopefully go on to live a normal life once he's done his time.
Yeah, it's a and when you mentioned the others, it's an interesting, there's a lot of layers to peel back there as well, because we don't really get too much about them, but we do get the idea that they are in some way or another terrorists. At least that's always been my takeaway from them. One of them was
Read Taurus's file card again. He's Interpol.
yeah, there you go. So
Yeah,
but
the terrorist.
He's
No, but
Interpol, but he travels Europe and I suppose other locales on the back of a circus. Good cover. Your reason for being in every part of the continent is easily explained. And
you look the part.
Larry even kind of used the circus as a subterfuge
Yeah,
in the comic books.
there's that whole thing with Snake Eyes when he goes back to that clown.
Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Blind Master.
Yeah, that's I must say, I'm
And
looking forward to
Borovia.
comic. I'm looking forward to us covering that comic in a future episode. That was actually
Ah,
really.
love that.
You'll
Me
be
too.
waiting a long time.
I know it's quite far in, but that was a good for me. That was a cool moment in the comic books.
For sure.
That's also a mouthpiece for Larry, but we'll save that for that episode. I'm trying to think what else is there that's cool about Mercer. Keep thinking.
I remember
Yeah.
catalog
Yeah.
shot.
Mhm.
Lovely catalog shot of, I think it's Budo. They sort of the Joes are stacked up behind a pillar in a sewer. Crocmaster's guarding a door to some. This is in the Benelux catalog,
Yes, I
right?
was going to say it sounds like the Benelux catalog.
And Storm Shadow's back there, and so is Mercer. Lovely, interesting, like trio of characters. Budo, Storm Shadow, Mercer. Budo and Storm Shadow have martial arts in common, but more interestingly, Mercer and Storm Shadow have a shared bond that they both were Cobra defectors.
Mm.
That's interesting. that's a lovely bit of connective tissue between two characters that are otherwise completely disparate, but they both had a version on shelves or on pegs at the same time. If kids, at least if I had known that they both came from Cobra, maybe it could have been a team up. Maybe they both escaped together on that moray.
Those are some great stories, untold stories.
Mercer
Cool.
and Storm Shadow. Mercer and Storm
Yeah.
Shadow. One
An
is a
unlikely
ninja,
pairing.
the other's insane.
Well, I used to like, at least in my flights of fancy, imagine Storm Shadow working his way up through the ranks. Like he wasn't sort of imported into Cobra as a super ninja assassin, on day one. He had to find a sort of clandestine recruiter, prove his worth in the unit as a blue shirt or maybe a Viper before he gets noticed, and they're like, "Whoa, you got some next level deadly shit
No
going on here.
What did you do
You're
to
going
that tank?
upstairs." Yeah,
Use a weapon.
nice. Yeah, so maybe they could have even served in the same unit. Is,
Yeah.
I guess, an Elseworld story that we could tell about Mercer and Storm Shadow.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's why I just want to find a cool way of delivering the Black Hearts, because that's exactly what that is. Not including Storm Shadows. That's just great. Now I want to add that somewhere. Like I
Well,
love.
yeah, LRRP team with Stalker and Snake Eyes, and then a Viper team with Mercer and, I don't know, Scorch.
Yeah, Mercer and Scorch. And Scorch is like cool but traumatized. Like the idea of Scorch for me is that he's the bad version of Snake Eyes. He's like what happens when somebody like Snake Eyes does what Snake Eyes does, but instead of being able to heal, he turns it all into, into bad shit. Like he goes the wrong way. Because one could argue that Snake Eyes does use violence to process some of those feelings. The loss of his
He's a
family and
scary
sister.
dude, man. I'm sure
He's
they
a
tell
very scary dude.
stories in Cobra Command about the boogeyman, the Snake Eyes.
Exactly. And like I like the idea of Scorch kind of being that as well. Like not even like he's like a counter to Snake Eyes, but not as skilled as Snake Eyes, not nearly as skilled as Snake Eyes, but just like driven enough by hate and fueled by all that anger and everything. And like that makes for an interesting character, because I also know where that character goes as well, which I also don't really want to. Maybe long-time listeners and guys who pay really like serious attention to the podcast might remember, because I think I have mentioned it before. But
Good luck.
Okay.
I'm here for most shows, and I don't remember.
that's
So
actually perfect. That's perfect.
If Steven doesn't
Because
remember, there's no way anyone else will.
because yeah, there is a place where that's where he goes, and like I know it's not everybody's favorite thing, but we'll see. I think that's the angle that it needed to be for that concept to be successful. But I'm speaking completely in riddles now.
Oh,
That's fun.
what a podcast!
My
I mean,
word.
I jumped on here thinking we're going to talk a little bit about the 1987 version of this figure, but
we went
damn,
literally
we talked about
everywhere. We went everywhere.
Elbow
I
deep.
think that's what he is. He inspires you to think about
Mm.
more than just who he is and what he is, but everything around him and everything else. And yeah, that's Mercer for you guys. Felix P. Stratton.
Yes.
West Virginia,
Yeah. Born and
close to the
raised.
Pentagon.
Might not have the best
Mm.
classified figure ever made, but there he is. So for those of you, if that's your first time dealing with Mercer, I hope it's an awesome experience for you guys.
Enjoy owning him.
Yeah, because
Worth it.
I feel like it's worth saying. Sorry, and I don't mean to be so like pissy about that toy, but I'm just really not happy with it. And I feel like this is a good episode to kind of book to
Okay,
bookmark
get
that.
your feelings out there, Paul.
No,
Tell
I'm not going to go
what's
into the
wrong with
whole
it?
tirade about it.
What's your biggest issue with it?
It's just that head sculpt, man. It's just wrong. I think it, but
And
it's wrong. Yeah. Sorry.
The neutral head sculpt as well.
Yeah, it's. I think this is not so much Hasbro's fault as it is more mine, in that I'm so precious about the character now. So I feel that I've put him on such a high pedestal in terms of what needs to come out of there, and it's not helped by the fact that Hasbro has released an outstanding mindbender and a superb serpentor and and then we get like a B team feeling Mercer. Now I'm obviously I'm saying this because I don't want to be like a dick to the person who made it. I mean,
Yeah.
they were also following a brief. It's also
They were on a
artwork, but, you know,
deadline. They were doing their best.
it's not
Not
just one
their
person who
fault.
makes
That
these
was one
things.
of their off days.
But I do feel that Mercer in Classified is the product of maybe not the strongest decision making, or should I say, the strongest care for the character. I think he was very much like oh, we have to get this guy done now as well. Okay, yeah, it's fine, whatever, sign off, it's okay, get it done. Okay,
I feel the
we got it
same way
back.
with Shockwave classified version.
Oh, very
Like,
much so. Yeah.
Noticing a pattern, the pressure's on. It's big game energy when it's a mindbender
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
Serpentor.
When
Yeah.
it's the
It
hit and
is-
run, Lifeline, Mercer,
It's less pressure when
Shockwave.
when you're doing a C character.
Yeah.
Like, just
It's
looking
like
at
we need to
Mercer's
fill
lower
out the
legs.
ranks. Let's just put another figure out until we get to the
Doesn't
next big
classified
one.
Mercer have viper legs, and it still has the weird, like the padding is on the inside of the thigh at the top joint, the outside of the thigh kind of flips
Yeah.
around.
It's still got
They
those
haven't addressed that.
issues. Yeah.
Damn
Wow.
It's
that
stuff like
is-
that. It's I know we've had a few laughs about the Oakleys, the glasses and things like that.
Mhm.
I mean, take
I've
it or leave
laughed
it.
a lot at those
It's not
glasses.
molded onto the figure, it's not sculpted on there, so you don't have to, use them. That
Yep,
gurning
chuck 'em away.
that gurning grin of his, or that gurn of his, is just he's clapping the serious Eki. It's mad for me, man. It's just, yeah, and it's weird that we would see a character like Big Lob, who is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a nothing character. Let's be fair. He has one very small moment in the movie, and he delivers a lot of personality, and I love the character, and I'm very excited to have a Super 7 O-ring. But the classified version of him is fantastic, and it's almost too good for the character that he is, in the sense that there are characters that have a much stronger pedigree than him, that are getting less of a special treatment, and looks at guys like, Shockwave, Hit and Run,
Hit and Run,
Lifeline, as Rob said.
Lifeline.
So I can only hope that
Mercer.
Scoop is a real hit. Seriously, I really hope Hasbro does an amazing Scoop. Because
yeah.
yeah,
literally.
please give that to Rob. But
I
other
need
than
it,
that,
guys. I'm on the edge. I'm afraid.
he's on the edge.
I
But
need
yeah, so
I need something to get me through.
but gents, is there anything else you need to add to the to our chin wagging about Mercer? Is there any last little tidbits of something like you're like, oh my word, I just saw the way that they printed on his bum, and I think it makes him the cuckest toy? Nothing like that you guys have got sitting there?
No, I think.
Do
yeah.
you remember the first Devil's Due Transformers versus GI Joe book?
Yes.
I
Do you
vaguely
remember
remember
Mercer's-
it. I
Do you
believe he
remember
was in
Mercer's
that
involvement
too.
in that? Yeah.
I don't.
They detail his defection from Cobra off panel. It's a kind of a tell don't show moment.
You're an
And then when the Joes and Transformers are invading Cobra Island, he gets vaporized by Megatron. Like, you see
Wow.
his skeleton. So he goes out like a bitch. Big
Yeah.
time.
That's why. Like, you guys do all that effort to like leave Cobra, and then it's like, now you die.
But he also gets
You know-
fried like that in the Tom Shirley book as well, doesn't he?
Oh, really? I don't remember that. But look, it
Oof.
feels like it's a disturbing pattern that in a otherwise bloodless kind of almost cartoon episode of a adventure, that you completely vaporize your ex-Cobra Viper.
Yeah.
Because
it's kind of like
he's a
it's all
baddie.
right. Yeah, he was a
Yeah, it's
baddie.
okay.
Like,
He's not a
just 'cause
GI
he
Joe
was
after all.
for 2 minutes doesn't wipe out the the years of badness. He deserved it. He had it coming. He should never have been a
Yeah.
Cobra in the first place.
They
Megatron.
didn't vaporize
did the right
CoverGirl
thing.
or
Yeah.
Footloose or Quick Kick. It was
Megatron did nothing wrong, guys. I'm just saying.
Windmill, he still walks. He lives amongst us.
He lives.
He draws breath.
He's
He
great.
wins
No one
his
remembers
mill.
him.
But guys, then I think I think we should call it then. This is
Let's
our
call it.
deep
Guys,
dive
this is
on
Mercer.
Mercer, and an impressive character for sure. A interesting
Untapped
figure.
potential is what
Yes.
I'll call him.
Yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
is. You know, that's
As
that's
far as
exactly
we're all
what he is.
concerned, in terms of media appearances, all he knows is that big bad cobras need air conditioning and that
Mhm.
his saliva is repellent to scorpions.
Scorpions.
That's pretty much all we know.
Wow.
Because even big bad cobras need air conditioning. This has
Very
been
good.
GI Joburg episode 398.
Mm.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen. And just a shout out to our patrons. You guys have been amazing. And to our YouTube members, thank you very much for your support. And to everybody that has liked and subscribed, you guys, it does make a difference. So thank you very much. And we hope that you can catch future videos from us and that you've enjoyed this one. And please leave a comment, especially if you want to tell us how much you love Mercer, how he has featured in your playtimes, and head cannons and all that good stuff. And if you really hate Mercer, yeah, tell us about it as well. We may not be able to relate, but it's always nice to hear. With that
True.
said, that is all of us. Remember to play with your toys, maybe today,
Yes,
especially
do
with
it,
Mercer.
guys.
And yeah.
Before
here
we go,
Whoa.
we've got a big event coming up.
What?
Mark your calendars, everyone. Yep. Wake up. If you've listened this far, you're the first to hear that GI Joburg will be premiering International Backyard 5, a collaborative play motion feature-length film on the 31st of October. Yes, Old Hallows Eve this year. It falls on a Friday. I believe it's a public holiday in a lot of territories. It isn't for us.
2025, by the way.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We're not going to leave it for next year or the past.
Well, yeah, in the future, if you're listening to this episode, you can immediately watch it. But if you're
Check the
listening to this
tapes.
right now, in October 2025, look forward to International Backyard V.
In just 2 short weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. It's not even 2 weeks. It's so around the corner.
Got enough time to make a thumbnail.
International Backyard
It was awesome. I haven't been.
love it. It's the best. You might even see my boy Mercer in there. Or not. I am not in there, so I'm not sure.
Also, my back is sore.
Get it.
Yo, Joe, everybody.
Joe.
It was interesting to be polled by Stephen and Rob. And we're gone. Almost gone.